Welcome in to Green Dot Daily. We are Action Network's daily sports betting show. I am your host, Brendan Glasheen. Join us every weekday at noon Eastern for Green Dot Daily. However you found us now, of course, we are streaming live in the Action Network app. That's nifty. You can log your picks, track picks, and then watch the show. Works out really well. We're also live on Action Network HQ Twitter and YouTube. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. We have a big show today, really big show. Later on in the program, the Favorites podcast, which consists of Simon Hunter and Chad Millman. They will join us for their picks NFL Week 13, the lucky 13 or unlucky 13. You'll understand what I mean later on in the show. Also, college basketball, Jim Root of the Three-Man Weave. He joins us to break down some big matchups, some conference challenges tonight in college basketball. Also, the Buckets podcast, Action Network's NBA betting podcast. They weigh in on tonight's three-game slate. Nick Giffen will join us later as well to discuss Iran and the United States. But we're going to start with the Wonder Goal pod. And all three of them are here. BJ Cunningham, Anthony Dabbundo, and Michael Leboff. We got all three in the same room virtually. Gentlemen, hope you're well. You don't need to respond to that because I know you'll all just jump at me at once. So please don't. USA, Iran. It's a must win for the United States if they want to emerge out of their group and continue their competition in Qatar. So we need picks. We want to find out how we can bet on this match. It starts at 2 Eastern, so under 2 hours. The clock is ticking. We'll go to BJ first. What's the play?
I like the Americans on the money line at even money. Kind of betting a little bit here with my heart, but also I think there's some concerns for the Iranian defense. So first off, coming into the World Cup, they were way overdue to concede. They conceded 8 goals throughout World Cup qualifying, but it was off of 16.7 expected. Also, in their 2 back lines of 4, none of those players playing one of Europe's top 5 leagues. So the question now is, can the United States break down a low block? It's something they struggled to do against Wales. It's something they've struggled to do throughout CONCACAF qualifying, honestly. And really the way to beat Iran is you're going to have to beat them with crosses. The United States has had 46 crosses so far this World Cup. They've completed 4 of them into the box. That's kind of concerning. But again, you saw with England versus Iran is that when you have good midfielders and you have a plethora of good attackers that can find space in between the lines, you can break down a defense that, yes, is very, very compact, but again, lacks the talent to compete with the United States. Also, Iran is still on their backup goalkeeper. So the question is, can the Americans get that one goal, get that one breakthrough to give them the victory? I think they can. I have the Americans projected at -130. So go USA on the money line at even money.
I should add that the Wonder Goal guys, they were live earlier today. They also have an account that has their picks, and so far they're up just about 5 units in this World Cup. Leboff had the Japan pick last week. How are you playing USA, Iran later this afternoon?
Yeah, I'm with BJ. Go USA indeed. But I also like goals. Go goals. I think that we just saw this with the Senegal-Ecuador match, right? People, when these situations arise in tournaments, in soccer tournaments, you see it in the Champions League, you see it at Euros, now you're seeing it at the World Cup, when everyone's expecting one team just to sit deep because they just need to draw. Everyone says, all right, we'll bet the under because Iran's going to sit deep. USA just needs 1 goal. They'll get that goal, and then USA will sit deep. But the reality is 1 goal turns this game completely on its head. We saw it with Senegal and Ecuador just now. 1 goal late in the first half. The next thing you know, it's three total. It goes over the 2.5 because Ecuador had to open up. Senegal could hit him on the counter. So an early goal from Iran, that means that USA now has to score 2. An early goal from the USA, or a goal from the USA, means Iran has to earn a draw with a goal. So I think that I'm going to bet against that narrative that this is going to be a rock fight. Iran's just going to sit deep. They're going to invite the pressure, and the United States are just going to try for 1 goal, and then the roles are reversed. I think that this could be a pretty back and forth affair, which goes against everything you're going to hear about, in these 2 hours leading up to the match. And it's usually a pretty good idea to fade those narratives in the betting market because the prices you get will be inflated.
So a same game parlay from Leboff. I like it. Makes it fun. By the way, BJ's on the money line, as he had mentioned. Numbers moving now to -105 at BetMGM. So if you want to get that plus money, go get it before that leaves wherever you need to go. Dabbundo, what's up? What's the angle?
I agree with Leboff. I'm taking both teams to score at plus 110 here. I think it's a little bit deflated as well. The market knows the scenario, and I think people are betting into that scenario. But the reality of the matchup is that I still have question marks a little bit about the United States defensively. I don't think we've seen them really comfortably defend with leads. So even if they do score, we saw that in the Wales match, they were not good at absorbing the pressure from Wales. And Iran is a significantly better attacking team than Wales. They're also a bit different. They can play through the midfield a little bit, but they're going to look to target their runners in behind with Azmoun and Mehdi Taremi, who are excellent runners and even gave England problems in the first match of the group stage. Yes, the match was long over, but once Azmoun came on, the two of them combining and interchanging made for quite a good transition attack. And I think the United States could have some issues there. Their center backs, not exactly known for their pace, could get exposed here. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I agree with BJ as well. Iran does play a very compact defense. They can be difficult to break down, but over the course of 90 minutes, I do expect the United States to break through at least for 1 or 2, 3 good chances, which they were able to do against Wales. They only finished with 1 goal, but they did have 2 or 3 good scoring opportunities as well. Just didn't ultimately lead to any goals besides the Weah goal. So I like both teams to score here, plus money. If it gets down below, plus 100, I wouldn't bet it anymore. I don't want to lay juice here because it is so game state dependent. Like Michael said, if it is 0-0 for, like the USA England game, there were a lot of chances in that first half and then both teams kind of just shut it down. I think there is a risk that Iran becomes incredibly defensive if they get to halftime here. But if there is an early goal, I do expect a lot of fireworks in this match.
The Team USA team total is set at 1.5, and there's some plus money on the over there. So we'll see if the Americans prevail, as mentioned off the top. And as most of you know already, they need to win this match today to advance in this 2022 World Cup. So as folks know, we go live at noon Eastern every day. So there are matchups in the morning, as BJ mentioned to be, or pardon me, as Dabbundo mentioned to be yesterday. No more early 5 a.m. wake-ups, at least for folks on the East Coast. So there are some matches, though, that get started a few hours before we go live on Green Dot Daily. And we're going to look ahead to Wales and England. BJ has a play on this one. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I like over 2.5 goals at plus 110. Naturally, if this match was just taking place in a normal tournament setting, this would probably be a very, very easy underplay because Wales would play very, very defensive. They would play very, very compact. But the scenario is that Wales, they have to win to have any shot of getting out of this group. So they're going to have to play open. They're going to have to come out and they're going to have to press England, which is exactly what England wants them to do, which is going to create a lot of space in behind for England's just wealth of attackers. England has shown some vulnerabilities defensively. And the reality is that what was the big difference between the England match against Iran and the England match against the United States is that the United States did an outstanding job at clogging up the middle of the pitch and taking away a lot of easy passes. It's why you saw Harry Maguire and John Stones just consistently just passing the ball back and forth to each other because they couldn't find any space for Mount or Bellingham to actually get the ball. Wales is going to have to play way, way more open. So I think England's going to maybe put 2, 3 behind them. And England has looked a little bit vulnerable defensively as well. So I like England to beat their neighbors in this match, but I do think that we're going to see a lot of goals. So I like over 2.5 goals at plus 110.
Okay, very good. And just by the way, Wales and England today at 2 Eastern. I apologize for getting the schedule mixed up. So let's go to Leboff next. What do you like?
Yeah, if you listen to Wonder Goal, you know that BJ has this outrageous vendetta against Wales. I don't know, what growing up in Iowa did to him to make him hate the Welsh so much. But I think Wales is a game underdog most games. Like when you're getting a big price on a team like this, and BJ said like they're experts at sitting deep and clogging up games, I still expect them to try to do that. I know that they need to win, but their best path to success here is to clog and counter. If they win and we have a draw in the USA Iran game, like Wales can go through. So I don't think that the narrative of Wales playing wide open is going to be turn this game into a carnival. But I do expect Wales to give England some fits. And I think that defensively, as BJ noted, England hasn't been all that good. I like Wales. I don't know if I can get there on the money line. I would love a bigger price. Maybe I'll get there. I'll be paying attention to the US, but I think the best way to extract value on them is to back them to score first. You're getting a good number. They've given England problems in the past. Like we've seen England play down to their opponents, start slow in tournament settings. So I think, a set piece, if you get an early set piece, maybe Gareth Bale creates a moment of magic early on. Wales should, at least be a little bit more on the front foot than normal. They have a lot of players who are good in the box at finishing off crosses, good crossers of the ball as well. So I think that there is a chance here that Wales causes some trouble with an early goal.
Plus 280 right now on BetMGM. You care to respond to that, BJ? As far as Leboff reading into how you think
no, they
in
don't
Iowa?
have good.
This
They
is
don't
his
have
Super
good
Bowl.
finishers unless it's a header to Kiefer Moore. They don't have good finishers. What was he talking about? Gareth Bale's completely washed. I mean, you've seen it in this tournament too. Outside of that penalty, he's done absolutely nothing for Wales. So
He's saving it for this one.
This team is done. It's over. England's going to win this match and go win the World Cup.
You two done? Okay, all right. I was opening the floor for a little debate there. Okay, Dabbundo, why don't you weigh in now?
I think this is BJ's Super Bowl because he loves England so much and he despises Wales.
Absolutely, my Super Bowl.
He also has a Wales to finish bottom ticket, which is looking pretty good. So you have to credit BJ for that one.
Wow.
With that being said, I don't love a ton in this match. I will be throwing a little dart, small piece, just to have some action on Jude Bellingham. Anytime goal scorer at plus 650, assuming he starts here, which the bet is only counting if he starts. We don't have lineups as of now, but I'm assuming he will. And really the biggest difference between England at the Euros last summer and England at the World Cup this year has been Bellingham's forays forward into the penalty area. This is something we talked about before the USA match. Well, Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie did a stellar job of preventing England from, progressing the ball through the middle of the park, letting Bellingham get into the penalty area. But if you looked at his numbers for both Borussia Dortmund and for England this year, he's been excellent at getting extra shots and extra touches in the penalty area, receiving progressive passes in the penalty area. I think it's a big key because Wales is, yes, they need to come out and play, but they are going to ultimately sit deep and absorb pressure for more often in this match than they won't be. And they're going to try to take away the middle, but they sit so deep that I think it's going to leave Bellingham some space on the edge of the box to potentially get a few shots off. So at plus 650, I do like Bellingham to score. Just a little dart throw.
Wow. I just got flashbacks to Dinger Tuesday during the summer, but now it's anytime goal scorer Tuesday in the World Cup. Dabbundo. Love it. All right, gents, you were live today. Not all at once. One of you can say this. When are we live again? When's Wonder Goal going live again during this World Cup?
Friday night.
Friday night. Do you have a time?
Yeah. We previewed all of the last 16 matches. You can find that on our podcast and live show feeds. And then we'll be back Friday night, I believe 5 Eastern, to preview the round of 16 when the knockout begins.
Yeah, don't listen to the part about Ecuador beating Senegal.
Okay.
Just listen to the part where I picked Senegal to beat Ecuador.
That's an inside joke, and we'll find out more on Friday. We'll get intel on that. BJ Cunningham, Anthony Dabbundo, Michael Leboff, all together. You were all very, very cordial and very well behaved. You were all great. Enjoy the match today too. Both matches at 2. And thanks for stopping by Green Dot Daily.
Thanks, Brendan.
So long.
On to week 13 in the NFL, some heavily bet road underdogs for this coming week. Titans and Dolphins getting a high percentage of the cash in their matchups, taking on the Eagles and Niners, respectively. On the road, we welcome in the duo from the Favorites podcast, Chad Millman and Simon Hunter, to get their picks as they look ahead to week 13. I get the sense that one of you, maybe both of you, might fall into the trap of where that public money's coming in. Chad, are you a victim of this?
I'm not a victim yet. I will be on the Titans this week at plus 5.5. This game actually opened at 6.5, got bet down quickly to 5.5. If you like it at 5.5, get it now because it's probably going to move to 5 pretty quickly. I think this is a great matchup for the Titans on the field. They're one of the better rushing teams in the NFL. Hi, Derrick Henry. And they're playing against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL, in the Eagles. That's a recipe to keep a game close. And oh, by the way, they also have a top 3 rush defense against an Eagles team that likes to run the ball and has a running quarterback. One more thing. This is a smash spot for Mike Vrabel. In his career, 75% against the spread when he is an underdog of 3 or more. He knows how to game plan when his team is an underdog. They are always undervalued as dogs and overvalued as favorites. This is a good spot. Take the Titans.
And they're coming off a loss too at home to the Cincinnati Bengals. So we say so much about the rah-rah Mike Tomlin spot. Mike Vrabel seems to have the same superpower there in Tennessee. Simon, how about yourself?
Yeah, with Chad on the road dogs this week. It just maybe we're a little early with the sharp money, hopefully, on these teams. But yeah, both teams we picked this week are getting a lot of money. I'm going with Miami up to plus 4 now against this 49ers team. And it's simply just because I look at a 49ers team that who have they really played? We saw them lose to Atlanta 28-14. Then the following week, they lost to the Chiefs team at home, 44-23. And then they've just had a cupcake schedule. They had the Rams, who were beat up. They ended up getting the backup with Arizona. We all know how that game played out. They just haven't really faced a true quarterback since they played Mahomes. And Tua, as much as people want to deny it, he's a top quarterback right now. He's playing like one. And all the numbers you look at, he's top 3 almost in every category. Again, accuracy is a huge deal with the way Tua likes to play. And going up against a 49ers defense that loves to run zone, we've seen them get abused by teams that have a really strong armed quarterback. So if I'm getting a guy that's throwing the ball just like Mahomes is, that has better weapons than Mahomes does, I'm going to back that kind of guy. And I'm looking at a team that has Tyreek Hill and Waddle playing at a high level. It's hard to pass on this number. I think the professionals are coming on the 49ers saying this is the pupil versus the teacher, and they maybe believe Shanahan will have the upper hand on him. But I watched the offense on Mike McDaniel's runs. It's a little bit of Shanahan's run scheme, but it's a lot of West Coast passing, and it's different than what Shanahan runs. So to me, Shanahan might, have a little bit of an upper hand of the run style that he's going to run McDaniel's in the offense. But the wide receivers, they don't have an answer for it. This 49ers team, that's their weakness this year. They don't have a good secondary. They have too many injuries to their secondary. Tyreek Hill and Waddle, they're the most dynamic duo in football right now. They are always open. You watch that Houston game, they put up 30 like it was nothing, that offense. And then they just took off the gas pedal in the second half. This 49ers team, again, they beat up on bad teams. This is a really good team in Miami. So the fact that it's up to 4 now, I might be walking into it, but I can't pass on that value. This number should be closer to 2.5, 3. Now I'm getting a full free point. I'll take Miami here at +4.
Well, Miami's played some bad teams too, right? If we're going to be fair, but I'm fascinated by all the hype in this game with Tua. Think about when this win streak started for the Dolphins. We were talking about Tua near plus 10,000 to win MVP. Now he's plus 500 entering this week. And how do you feel? I guess I should ask you this too. Elijah Mitchell's going to be out now for a while. So that Jeff Wilson trade looks awfully smart now. It's kind of ironic because, as you mentioned, Mike McDaniel coached under Kyle Shanahan. He goes to Miami, swoops up one of the running backs that we always talk about. I feel like this time of year, the Niners are lacking depth at running back. And what do you know? The former Niners coach has a running back off of Kyle Shanahan's plate. So this is a lot of pressure, I would think, on the Christian McCaffrey trade if that comes to fruition today or this weekend.
Yeah, and he might be a little banged up, McCaffrey, right? Then we see early reports that he had a little bit of a knee injury this week. So I look at the 49ers team that if they're going to win this game, it's a lot of what Jimmy's going to do, but it's mainly with the defense. It's the defense stopping Tua. That's the matchup here to me. So, like, Tua, you're right. He's beat up on bad defenses. Are we sure the 49ers are a good defense? I don't know. We're about to find out because I've just seen them get torn up by good quarterbacks this year. So it's a wait-and-see approach for me on this 49ers defense. And if they're not giving me good value on a line, I'll take it. But you're right. Who has Miami really played? We're about to find out how good they really are.
Okay, so it is week 13, the lucky number 13. So we figured we're not gonna wear the hats of Sean Kerner and Nick Giffen here with the favorites guys. We'll leave it to them for the predictive analytics. But we figured why not discuss whose luck might shift with lucky week number 13. Chad, you're gonna go right back to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to Miami, and I was a little bit afraid you guys were just going to run down their schedule with what you were just talking about, because it's true. They have had a little bit of a cupcake schedule during this run. And if you look at it, I got to look at my notes here. They had Houston at home. They had Cleveland at home. They were in Chicago. They were in Detroit. They had Pittsburgh at home, and they had Minnesota at home, who they lost to, by the way. So the only team with a winning record is the team they played at home and they lost to. We had seen all season long teams going to Miami, playing in that heat, fading in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, what happens over the next 6 weeks for the Dolphins? We've talked about it. They're at San Francisco. They're going to be at the LA Chargers. They're going to be at the Bills. They're going to be home against Green Bay, at New England, then home against the Jets. The caliber of teams they will be playing has increased markedly. The caliber of teams they will be playing on the road has increased. I think that this is a team that you're going to see trend downward over the next 6 weeks. Is this a good week to start fading them? I guess we're going to find out.
Simon doesn't necessarily agree by taking Dolphins +4.
Well, they just need to cover. They don't need to win.
Yeah, they don't need to win.
Show,
okay.
The Vikings and Miami game, that was with their third string quarterback, and they had 200 more yards than the Vikings. So I'll just add that one in for that Vikings loss at home.
Yep. And they won in the shootout against Justin Fields, who had been trending very upward at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's legit, right?
Guys,
Shootout.
don't blow holes in my theory. I'm right.
All right, fine. Simon, your luck that you're looking to see shift this coming week 13 Sunday.
Yeah, it's got to go with the Commanders, a team that I was honestly going to pick them in the spread, but then I figured I'd just throw them in this because it's even better value. They're plus 132 now, plus 140 at BetMGM to not make the playoffs. That's good value on a team that's about to play the Giants, have a bye week, play the Giants again. Then they get the 49ers, right? We just talked about how good we think they might be. Then they get Cincy, then they get Dallas. That's a really tough end to the year. So looking at their schedule, I don't know. I love what he's done, Heineke, but they're 6-1 in their last 7. Like that's crazy that they've won six of their last 7 games with him at quarterback. And again, taking nothing away from the kid, it's got to run out. We saw it last week. They had so many opportunities, Atlanta, to take that game, and they kept giving it away. And looking at our luck metric, Washington's one of the most lucky teams down the stretch here. So a team that I just could see underperforming down the road here, it's Washington. They've had a lot of things bounce their way in one possession games. Usually doesn't work that way. Now they're going up against tough out of division opponents and really hard in division opponents. Look, we've seen the Giants. They are a scrappy team. Now they're home dog, and Washington's getting all the money this week. That sounds like a complete disaster for this Washington team. So I could just see them missing it. I gave it out weeks ago. The Giants were plus 300 to miss the playoffs. Now they're minus money. So if you already bet that, then you have to bet Washington because one of these two are missing. It's just the way this division is shaped out. There's not going to be 3 NFC East teams making all 3 wild cards. It's just they all play each other so much in the year here. It doesn't mathematically work out that way. So if you already hit that, then yeah, of course, get in on Washington. If not, there's still great value on this Washington team.
Commanders getting 70% of the money, minus 2.5 at the Giants. And Taylor Heineke, 11-2-1 in his last 14 against the spread. So I think the public is having a little Heineke fever this time of year. Fellas, great stuff as always. We'll check you out on AMP Live and, of course, the Favorites podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Few games in the association tonight. Warriors Mavericks. That should be a good matchup. Those teams met in the playoffs this past summer. Money coming in on the Warriors. Folks think they can turn this ship around the way they've been playing lately. Knicks, Pistons, Clippers, Trailblazers. Let's go to the Buckets podcast. They have thoughts on tonight's slate.
Warriors visiting the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks are terrible right now, but I'm going to take the money line there. Mavericks plus 100, plus minus 105, depending on what number you can get. And I like Luka Doncic over 2.5 threes because I think he's going to let it fly. And it's such a great buy low spot for Dallas. They're 1-13-1. That's 1-13-1 against the spread in their last 15 games. By far the worst record in the NBA right now. And they're basically +1, plus a half point. Pick them. It depends on what you're looking at. I think it's a big tell. I think in order for that to happen, and this bet is correlated with my second best bet, is Luka has to have a big game. We know Wiggins is an elite defender, especially one-on-one, and he's going to play a lot on Luka Doncic. And I think Luka knows that he doesn't have the athletic advantage against Andrew Wiggins. He doesn't have the quickness advantage, so he's going to settle for a lot of threes. He's going to take a lot of step-back threes, and I like that 2.5 number because he's going to attempt at least 7, 8, 9 threes in this game, especially on national TV. So I think those two are correlated. It might go 0-2, it might go 2-0, but I think it's going to be a tight game, which gives me more motivation for Luka to do well.
All right, my game is going to be the Knicks and the Pistons, the other game on the slate. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 4.5 with the Knicks. I make this closer to 7, and that's before we get into injuries. No Cade, no Isaiah Stewart, no Beef Stew. Most importantly, though, is Bogdanović. Bogdanović is out for this game, and that is a huge freaking loss. If Bogdanović plays, I still like it, but all indications are that he's going to miss the game. This Knicks team, I think, is pretty decent. They're not great. They're not awesome. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they're decent. The injuries are just too much, and Bogdanović, I think, represents a nice look at a guy who won't move the line significantly, but is a major part of their overall team quality.
That.
Right?
Okay, we turn our attention back to the World Cup. All the discussion today centered around USA and Iran for the United States. It needs to win this match to advance out of Group B. There are your standings. Happy to have Nick Giffen joining us again on Green Dot Daily. He was with us yesterday, and he's got a breakdown now for USA and Iran, 2 p.m. start. FIFA World Cup continues. It's win or go home for the United States. They've got to handle their business today against Iran. Nick, you have a few angles on this match. In some aspects, you like the Americans to handle their business, but there's another way you can also play this in case they don't deliver.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, of course, the scenario we don't want. But I do like the betting value on a draw. So for these teams to tie after 90 minutes, which, of course, this game is only going to be 90 minutes. There's not going to be any overtime or anything like that. I like the value on draw at plus 250. Now, for those of you who do want to back the USA, I also have a bet for you on the USA side of things, which is also showing value. I like the USA to cover an alternate spread of -1.5 at plus 320 odds. And these analyses kind of go together for these two bets. So first of all, let's go back to 2010, and let's remember when the USA was in a very similar situation against a similar style team, a team that was bunkering. So in 2010, USA versus Algeria in the final group game. USA had to win to go through, and we're coming down to these final minutes. USA's been hounding Algeria all game, just couldn't find the breakthrough goal. And then right at the end, Landon Donovan scores that goal for the USA to send us through to the next round of the World Cup. Well, this is like that, but imagine that with no Landon Donovan goal. We could see a 0-0 draw potentially, but USA is more likely to score first, right? So that's why I like this USA -1.5, because if we do, then this stylistically plays into our favor. We've had a hard time breaking down bunkering defenses. It's not been impossible, but we've certainly had a hard time doing it. But if we score a goal, then Iran has to score to get back into advancing, right? Because they need at least a draw to advance to the next round. So if we score, Iran has to open up, and that actually helps the USA stylistically because we don't have to break down a bunker as much. Now there's more space for us to run at them, and that's when we've been at our best so far in this World Cup. So I'm showing value on both of these bets at these prices. I have a draw at 30.4%, so about plus 230 fair value. And I have USA -1.5 fair value at plus 300. So definitely value at plus 320 as well. So these two are kind of anti-correlated, right? It's like you either have a draw, or if USA scores, there's going to be maybe potentially more USA goals. But that's why you can bet them both here safely and still make a profit if either outcome occurs.
How is your confidence fluctuating with this team in terms of their ability to score goals, though?
It's been up and down. We looked really good in the first half against Wales and for part of the second half, but against England, we looked great for the second half of that first half and a portion of that second half there as well. So it's very hard to score goals, and it's going to be very hard to score against Iran, but I think we can do it. We've got the quality. We've got all of our best players are healthy, especially in attack. And then the other thing I like about not conceding is, again, we're healthy on that back line. Tim Ream has been super solid in that central back position, pairing alongside Zimmerman there. I wonder if we'll see how much we'll see of Gio Reyna if he'll start, because that's been the talk of the town. And I think he's going to really help us here to break down that Iran defense. So, I'm feeling confident. I actually feel more confident than I did against Algeria back in 2010. And I know this Iran team is better than that Algeria team. I don't know. Maybe it's just homerism in me, but I'm feeling good.
Okay, Nick Giffen, thanks so much. He contributes on the analytics end at Action Network, so he gives us this analytics perspective for USA Iran coming up later this afternoon. Thanks for stopping by Green Dot Daily.
Yeah, go USA.
All right, on to college basketball. Here are some games to watch, and more specifically, games to watch by Mr. Jim Root, who joins us now of Three Man Weave, contributing to Action Network this college basketball season. He's a contributor now to Green Dot Daily. So we've got the ACC Big Ten Challenge, Virginia at Michigan, and this Wahoo's team, they know how to score now, and they're laying points. It's pretty incredible. How do you look at this game tonight between two teams that should do awfully well in their respective conferences?
It's sad right now because the ACC Big Ten Challenge just announced is probably ending due to some ESPN contracts, but we're going to enjoy it while we have it. We got a great one here. And this is really kind of a back against the wall type stuff for Michigan. They're running out of big chances in the non-conference. And now they get Virginia coming to town, who's kind of riding high. They're shooting 45% from three so far this year. You alluded to the offense. It's been kind of nuclear for them, for the Cavaliers, not a normal tradition for them. But I think they're going to see some regression eventually. I don't know if it's going to be sudden, as in like a 1 for 15 outing tonight, or gradual. But I think we're trending on the side of sell high a little on Virginia. They're just about as high as they could be in the market right now. And Michigan looks more like a buy low to me. They've definitely struggled the last 3 games. That blowout against Arizona State in New York was bad. But now they're home dog here against Virginia, a team that is solid and like you said, has been better offensively this year, but I don't fully trust them. It's their first true road game. I like Michigan here getting the points at home, especially if you can get over 3, if you can get a 3.5 out there and get over that whole 1 possession. I kind of like the Wolverines here in a big spot at home.
Yeah, and these 2 teams like to slow it down, right? Virginia likes to slow it down, and so does Michigan. So maybe that bodes well, get some higher percentage looks. I'm kind of with you on this one. Let's go to Baylor and Marquette. We got Big East v. Big 12, which there will be a shift in that as well, based on what you mentioned on the different conference challenges starting next year. But what's your lean in this matchup?
And I've loved Baylor all year. I ranked the number 2 coming into the season. Obviously, they just lost in Vegas to the aforementioned Virginia Cavaliers, so I've had to back off on that a little bit. But now heading up to Milwaukee to take on Marquette, and Shaka Smart as an underdog, man, he's been unbelievable so far in his career. He's at 71-48 against the spread for his entire career. That's ridiculous. And if you go to a dog of 5 or more, he's up to 36-20. That's 64%. Pretty good bet for him at getting points. He's really good at motivating his teams and getting them hyped in these spots where maybe they're a little overlooked or seen by the market as the underdog. He just knows how to play it. This is going to be a track meet up and down. Both teams will want to run. Marquette especially, a lot of guards on the floor here. But I think Marquette can hang around. This reminds me a little bit of last year when they hosted Illinois, and everybody was kind of in love with Illinois. And though Marquette did not win, they stayed inside the number and they made it. Actually, I think they did win outright. Excuse me. Andre Curbelo had a bad game. And it feels like this big hype home spot for Marquette that they succeeded in the past. And Shaka Smart has over and over shown that his teams can play up in this instance.
Wow. So we had the favorites guys who covered the NFL earlier. They are taking road dogs. In your case, you've got a couple of home dogs in Marquette and Michigan. All the money coming in on Baylor, all the money coming in on Virginia, and Jim Root is going the other way. I think you nailed it. It's an important time of year for your teams you got to nail one of these marquee non-conference games if you have a few blips in the conference season. Okay, let's turn the shot clock on. 30 seconds or less. Love it. Albany at American. You've got to play in this game for us.
Yeah, I can't believe they don't want me to talk about this for 3 minutes. I don't get it. But no, I'm going with the under here. American and Albany, both teams have injury issues, potentially missing 2 starters on both sides. I think that leads to a slow down game. And really, they want to play slow no matter what. Albany's a big-time defensive squad. I think everything adds up here to slow, crawl, tough efficiency on both ends of the floor with some key players out. I love the under here. 128.5 was the last I saw. I'd take it down to 127.
Okay. Good stuff. Jim Root, contributor to Action Network. You can find him at Second Chance Points over on the Twitter machine. And he's also over at 3-Man Weave. Thanks so much, man.
Yep. Appreciate you having me.
Gambling and rambling. Let's ride. Gambling and rambling country. Let's ride.
There he is in the flesh. Okay. All right, Russ, we get it. Enough. Tim Kalinowski joining us.
Green Dot Daily country. Let's ride.
I mean, it works with the green screen. Tim Kalinowski, part of our social team at Action Network. You can find him on our TikTok page. He's also one of the co-hosts of Gambling and Ramblin', which will be out later today over on the Action Network YouTube page. Find that later this evening. So we had you on last week before the holiday. How'd that go? Actually, I should ask you that. How'd that go? Awkward conversations with the family, the parents. Did that all go okay?
Flawless execution. Flawless. It went perfect. There was, we kind of downsized our holidays recently. So I was able to hide in this, and we went to my aunt's house and she's got like this perfect mounted TV in the kitchen. And I was kind of hanging out there. It was kind of like where the cool kids were kind of hanging out. So it was nice to have eyes on everything the whole time. And then the Giants backdoor cover, I was like, everybody watch, we're still watching. And so it was me and a couple of the cousins, everyone's, doing pie, all that. And I'm like, that meme of like, these people don't know. They have no idea how much money is they have no idea how good their Christmas presents are going to be because of the Giants backdoor cover.
You know why that's phenomenal? Because a lot of times when you're at gatherings like this, I got to go to the bathroom, right? So you go to the bathroom, you're really just checking your phone to see how your bets might be doing. If you're in the living room without a TV and you're trying to do the intimate family stuff, we're all guilty of that. People that watch the show behind the scenes, you know what I'm talking about. But having a TV in the kitchen is phenomenal because then you can just say, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm going to go grab another plate. And who's going to get on you for that? So the TV's right there. Piece of ham, piece of turkey. Oh, touchdown Giants. I mean, that's perfect. Perfect setup.
I'm very anti-bathroom because I'd rather be the degenerate than this guy's been in the bathroom for 3 hours during Thanksgiving, because I'd rather answer degenerate questions as opposed to bathroom questions. It's just like kind of pick your poison.
That's a great point. Okay, back on task. Clemson Clemson fell to South Carolina, so that kind of busted your Clemson pick to maybe creep into the college football playoff discussion. The new rankings come out later tonight. So with that being said, it kind of gives TCU, we think, possibly some wiggle room. And then you're wondering, does Bama have a shot? USC and Caleb Williams, who we talked about last week, the front runner now for the Heisman. The odds tell us that. What's your latest temperature on the college football playoff and what you expect tonight?
Well, I mean, you know me, I've been the Green Dot Daily, mush for every Tuesday here. I go with the Drake May Heisman, and then I talked myself into Clemson getting into the playoff, and we all saw how that went. The Spencer Rattler smoking the cigar in the locker room, and Charlie was asking me about that today. I said, I'm like, I'll pass out the cigars in the locker room. You know what? Like, take it, because you know what? It was that embarrassing. It was when not only did I convince myself that Clemson was going to be able to backdoor their way in the way that DJ Uiagalelei played, it was horrific. But I will say, what an awesome weekend of college football we had, and the way it kind of starts to figure itself out. And the thing with TCU here is, and I have this, kind of love-hate with TCU, because I know TCU is losing this weekend. And I know they're losing this weekend because I have a ticket on them to win the Big 12 championship at 15-1. So that's why I know for sure they're going to lose. The whole thing is now, how badly do they lose, and what do we do with them as a one-loss team? And I have a couple theories of what I think is going to happen, but just to fill it in, the rest there, Caleb Williams, incredible performance. That team is just so fun to watch. I now hope, I usually root for chaos, but now I hope USC's in, just so we can get that show. I think we all deserve a semifinal with some sex appeal to it, especially with that California, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams. I think that they bring that for sure.
So Kansas State is TCU's opponent. That's a noon kickoff this Saturday. So the team we have yet to mention, well, the two teams we haven't mentioned a few teams, but the matchup, of course, that took the weekend by storm was Michigan-Ohio State. What do you predict tonight? Is Ohio State even in the conversation right now for you?
I think they're not at all in the conversation, really. I think that the committee kind of does this thing. They are human, right? I think they kind of want to just like punish Ohio State and be like, you know what, for dragging this whole thing out, that it was going to be Ohio State versus Michigan. Is Michigan going to get in if it's going to be close? The way I see it is, the way a lot of us see it, right? Georgia, Michigan, USC, TCU. And what I think is kind of the thing to pay attention to there is TCU is only a slight favorite over Kansas State, a team that whenever you're playing somebody for the second time, obviously real hard to do in football. Like, that's going to be the same thing with same story with USC and Utah. So I will say this, when we're watching TCU Kansas State, I'm thinking to myself, when the rankings come out tonight, pay attention to what they do with Alabama and what they do with Ohio State, because I have a feeling that the committee wants to do everything they can to get Alabama into that playoff, And I did a little research, did a little look back after our production meeting. The first iteration of the college football playoff this year, okay? Bama had one loss. TCU was undefeated, right?
Right.
Bama was ranked ahead of TCU, despite having one loss. So tell me what happens if TCU has one loss and Alabama has two losses. That's basically the same math there. I think that they would be anxious to jump an Alabama over a TCU team that would be a one-loss, not non-conference champion, the same thing as Alabama.
Fair enough. That assessment and that research makes sense. We'll wrap with this. Any last, I know you just kind of talked about Caleb Williams and that story, but Wow, that offense is something. And I can't see CJ Stroud getting back in the mix here because their season feels like it could be over.
No, and that's I feel the same way. And the thing about college football, right? These things usually figure themselves out. I'll say this: my uncle used to be a Heisman voter, and I would kind of look over his shoulder during Thanksgiving time when we were kind of filling this out, and I'd be like, "Hey, I got my finger on the pulse of this Heisman thing. Okay, I may be only 24 years old, but you got a guy on your show that knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Heisman, because he's been talking Heisman voting, Heisman ballot, with a ballot actually in the room." Okay. And Caleb Williams, he ran away with it. And the only thing that made this delayed was the fact he plays on the West Coast.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's possible. I mean, that's one way of looking at that from an analysis standpoint. Okay, what can we expect tonight on Gamblin' and Ramblin'? What's the lead story of the show?
Backup quarterback play. The fact that these backup quarterbacks come in and basically, whether or not they came in due to a benching of the starter or because of an injury to the starter, these backup quarterbacks have been on fire, and it's been fun to watch. And really what it is it's an indictment, and we kind of forget sometimes that these locker rooms are full of people too. And I was talking to Matt Mitchell a couple of weeks ago, and we said the players always know. If you're a tool on social media, you're likely not that cool in the locker room either. Okay. And these guys know that. We saw that with the whole Mike White situation. You can't explain the entire team elevating just over one position switch, which on paper should technically be like a downgrade because he's the backup quarterback. And I think we saw the same thing with Heineke and Carson Wentz as well. And I can't remember a year where we saw such a jump from backup quarterback play.
Yeah, Matt Mitchell would know, because before Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, it was always a musical chairs with quarterback. See Nathan 100%. Peterman. Yeah. Who's your favorite backup quarterback of all time?
Oof, I don't have a favorite of all time, but I have a favorite right now, and it's Cade Klubnik, the backup for Clemson.
Fair enough.
He's all I think about.
Okay. Tim Kalinowski, have fun with the green screen in the meantime. And we'll talk to you tonight. Gamblin' and Ramblin' will be up on the Action Network's YouTube page later on. I'm looking forward to the conversation with you and Disturco. Is it you and Disturco tonight?
Yes, it is.
Very good.
USA, let's ride. USA country.
Go. All right. You can follow us in the Action Network app at green.daily. We have an account that is solely dedicated to this show. So all the picks from today, including USA, Iran. There are picks in the app, also from the favorites guys, Simon Hunter and Chad Millman. They've got picks for later in the week in the National Football League. So NBA, college basketball, all of that as well. Green.Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks to everyone who joined the show today. Behind the scenes, I'm Brendan Glasheen. We return tomorrow at noon Eastern, the final day of November. Wow. We're at that time of year. Chaos is ensuing. Thanks so much for watching. Get some green dots, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
BetMGM, let's ride.